Welcome to the Fort Collins Fellows podcast. From Colorado State University to New Belgium Brewery and the hundreds of miles of hiking and biking trails, Fort Collins has earned its well-deserved reputation as one of the top places to live in the United States. Your hosts, Patrick and Chris, were born and raised in Fort Collins. Patrick owns and runs Soukup Real Estate Services, a top-rated real estate brokerage company here in Fort Collins. Chris is the co-owner of the Murphy Whitlock Group, a top-rated residential mortgage broker based out of Fort Collins. Now join the fellas as they uncover the stories, places, and people that make Fort Collins so exceptional.
So to all our listeners and viewers, welcome. It's 2024. I can't believe it. All this is coming out in February, but which is kind of crazy. We're already flying through this year, but I am thrilled. Patrick and I are thrilled to have Dexter Beasley on from the FoCo Cafe. I had an opportunity to meet Dexter. We had a holiday event last month with a mutual friend of ours, Joe Morangello. Shout out to Joe. He brought you into his holiday event, and you gave a great presentation, Dexter, about FoCo Cafe. I'll be honest with you. I'll raise my hand. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what you were doing, and the more I learned about it, I was like, you need to come on our podcast and spread the word. So Dexter Beasley, welcome to I was just gonna say welcome to FoCo Cafe podcast. Welcome to the Fort Collins Fellows podcast. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love any chance I get to spread awareness about the cafe because it's just such a great place.
Awesome. Well, let's just start right there. I give our listeners and viewers, like, what is the FoCo Cafe? When did it start? And, how is it helping our community here in Fort Collins?
Yeah, absolutely. So FoCo Cafe opened on Thanksgiving Day of 2014. It was founded by a couple, Kathleen and Jeff Baumgardner, who had seen the concept actually down in Denver. There's a cafe called Same Cafe down in Denver that's very similar, and thought, I don't see anything like that up here in Fort Collins. It's such a great idea, so let's bring it up. And that concept is a nonprofit restaurant. So when you hear that, you might think soup kitchen or, we're just there to feed the community members who need it most. But it's so much more than that. I mean, it's a community hub, and we're trying to build that community up as much as we can. But being a nonprofit restaurant means that we operate on a sliding donation scale. So folks can come in and they decide what they pay for their meal. Regardless of what contribution they make, they're getting the same delicious, nutritious food. Or we have our meal exchange program where folks can come in and volunteer for up to about a half hour and get a meal in exchange for that. Because we believe that everybody in the community has something to contribute, and that coming in and contributing however you are able for your meal creates a sense of dignity and mutual respect. And everyone who walks through that door is, welcome just the same, whether that's Mayor Arndt, Pat Stryker, or somebody experiencing homelessness.
And I think that's where I just assumed it was more of, the homeless side of things. And you were like, no, this is a cafe open to everybody that can come in. Talk a little bit about how, when people go to FoCo Cafe, they're not given a bill. They're, it's all donation based. And I'd love to know a little bit more about that. How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to preface this, I've been with the cafe, I guess a month from today, basically, or right around when this airs, will be a year and a half at the cafe. The first 6 months I was operations manager, and then just about a year ago, they made me executive director. And in that time, our process has changed quite a bit. Before I came on board, my understanding is that we just had a donation box where people would drop whatever they felt like dropping into that donation box, which worked pretty well, but we ended up having a few people kind of abusing that system, putting in fake money or,
Really?
things that we might not want inside of a donation box other than money. And so now we've got a host stand. So when you walk in, you come on up, and I've tried to streamline it as much as possible, make it feel just like any other restaurant experience. So we've got a point of sale system, just like any other restaurant. Got a big menu board hanging overhead, and you just come in, you pick an entree and up to 2 sides, and then we ask you how much you would like to contribute. And we used to, until pretty recently, have a minimum donation and a suggested donation. at $5 and $15 respectively. But we got rid of those because after a conversation I had actually with the CEO of Sim Cafe, he pointed out that having that minimum donation, having a suggested donation is kind of alienating. And I think the reason that we had instituted that in the past, and I'm kind of guessing here because it's before I joined, was because we thought it would bring in more money. Because as much as we don't want it to be about money, obviously, we have a lot of expenses to cover as we're serving the community. But I realized that we're not getting more money. We're just excluding people who would want to contribute $2, $3, $4. And then with that, having had that suggested donation at $15, people would feel bad if they couldn't make that. We an expectation, and then not everybody can pay $15 for lunch every day. So now we just show some of our costs more transparently. $7 covers the cost of ingredients, $18 covers the cost of ingredients and administrative costs. And then we let folks determine anywhere within that how they'd like to contribute, or if they want to go through our meal exchange program.
That's awesome. What's been, if you wouldn't mind or know, what's been your largest donation that you've received from somebody just walking in the door? And the reason I ask is so that people feel comfortable if they have the means to be able to drop a few $100s or whatever, or a check for some known amount. What would be one of the larger donations that you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can think of this year alone, and actually just these last couple of months alone, because that's when giving tends to be highest around Thanksgiving, which is our anniversary. And then we've got our biggest fundraiser of the year, our Party with a Purpose, early in December, obviously moving into the holiday and the new year. So we've had folks come in, drop off checks for $500, $1,000, $2,000. I was recently creating a list of everyone who's ever donated to the cafe, and I noticed that we did receive a donation from an individual of $10,000 one time.
That's awesome.
There has been a lot of incredible generosity in the community, and I just really love to see it. For example, on Thanksgiving Day, which is our anniversary, it's our busiest lunch service day of the year. This year we served, I want to say, 207 people in 3 hours, and our average is about 30 on a typical day in that same time frame. And we had a family come in, and this incredible gentleman was treating his parents to a Thanksgiving lunch. And when we asked how much he wanted to contribute, he gave us $500, which was just, incredible, because that covers so many meals that we were giving out to community members on that day. Because on Thanksgiving, nobody has to volunteer for their meal. If they're not in a position where they can contribute financially, they just get it and they get to connect with the community. So generosity like that really just helps us keep feeding our community ourselves, which is
are you guys a nonprofit? Is that
yes.
Okay? So from if somebody to donate this money, it's like a tax write-off basically, right? And do they get do they get documentation from you guys? I'm just really curious about how it all works.
Absolutely. So if you come in and make a donation for lunch, that is not deductible because you're receiving something in exchange for it.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
If you make a donation separately, in the cafe, we can give you a paper donation receipt that you can use. Or if you go on our website, FoCoCafe.org, there's a donate button right up in the corner, and there's just an automatic email receipt that goes out that you can use for tax purposes.
I love it. By the way, Patrick, you know Moses Horner. Do you know Moses?
Yeah.
I was just looking at their board of directors. We know Moses.
Oh, yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, and I know Eric as well on here. That's so funny. But it's a great website.
Do you see individuals making this kind of a part of their daily routine? Everyone has kind of their go-to lunch spots. And is this something that you kind of are seeing or hoping that it gets involved with I go to FoCo Cafe on Tuesdays and Thursdays for lunch. Is that something, or is it kind of a one-off deal that somebody's wanting to come make a donation, but not part of their daily routine?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely see both. I'd say specifically folks who are maybe making donations on the lower end or who are volunteering in exchange for their meal are more likely to have it as part of their daily routine because they really rely on FoCo Cafe as a source of food security. But we have folks who come in every single day. We have this one guy, Victor. He's incredible. He comes in every single day, washes some dishes, eats food, and I mean, he's really just a staple of FoCo Cafe, of the community, but he's just one of many volunteers and patrons we have coming in on a regular basis. We are also by a lot of the city buildings, so we get a lot of people who work for the city coming in for lunch, which is great. But
it's a great location.
yeah, I mean, we're right by Old Town. The only thing is we're just a couple of blocks out of the way, so if you don't know to look for us, you're gonna miss us. But you know, if you know we're there, we're right by everything else. So that's why I love opportunities like this to spread awareness, because usually when people come into the cafe for the first time, they keep coming back.
And just so everybody knows, you guys are on Maple Street. I'm looking right now.
Yep, Maple Street between Howes and Mason.
So right by that new senior living big giant complex that's going up.
Yeah, yep, pretty close to that. And then Eco Thrift, a thrift shop is right across the street. A lot of folks know that.
Cherry Street apartments that are going to be going up right there. So I mean,
there's Penny Flats right there as well.
You're right in the heart of that growth. That's for sure.
Talk to us about, hey, what's on your menu? What could somebody expect?
That was my next question. I was like,
what could somebody expect if they come in? Is it kind of a rotating menu, or what? Do you have some staples that are there that somebody can know? Hey, I'm going to go get my Philly cheesesteak from FoCo Cafe.
Yeah, absolutely. So we change our menu seasonally. We really focus on trying to source as many of our ingredients, and especially produce, as possible locally, fresh. We get a lot of produce, especially donated from local farms, individual growers, churches. So we do keep the menu updated seasonally so we can really utilize whatever is fresh and local. We just launched our winter menu about a week ago, but typically we've got soups, salads, and sandwiches, then some sides and desserts as well. We've got a couple of staples that always stick around, like our Caesar salad with focaccia croutons. And then we've got our almond bar actually is taking a brief hiatus right now. That's always been one of our staples, but I think distance makes the heart grow fonder. So when that comes back on another menu, people will be
the McRib, baby. The McRib, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Almond bars are McRib.
Dexter, is there like any full-time staff? Like, I'm curious, like who's like, do you guys have a chef that is in their back doing that? In terms of I don't know, is employees maybe not the right word, so it's a lot of volunteer based. How does that work?
Yeah, so we do have a few employees.
Okay.
The structure's been pretty fluid recently, but typically we have between 3 to 4 or 5 paid employees. When things are when things are going as they normally do, we've got 3 full-time employees, being myself as executive director, our chef, and our operations manager. And then the rest of the help is volunteers. Okay. I don't think anybody can name a restaurant that operates 6 days a week with just 3 paid staff. I think it's really incredible that my team is able to make that happen, and that we have so much support from volunteers in the community. But yeah, on that note, I guess I should mention we're open Monday through Saturday from 11 to 2. So just for lunch, but every day but Sunday.
And if we want to come, we could show up and volunteer and help out. You guys, you welcome everybody, huh?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, one thing that I'm really proud of with the cafe is that we don't require proof of in-need status, or we don't collect any personal identifying demographic information, because that can be a barrier to access for a lot of people. And we know that food security, food insecurity doesn't look just one way, and that folks coming in are the most qualified to determine their need. So folks come in, they let us know how they'd like to contribute, and we'll always, be there for them.
That's a great point, because I had a buddy who we were messaging each other, and he was kind of talking to me a little bit more about his story, and he says, I was living a life that wasn't necessarily true and was spending way outside my means, and I was trying to provide for my wife and kids something, and they didn't know how bad it was, but I went, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to afford the groceries when I went to the grocery store that day. And so to your point of food insecurity and kind of these barriers, to your point, like it might not look the same for everybody, and you don't want to shame one person or another for any type of reason. And if it's an open concept that everyone feels welcome, that's a pretty great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it means a lot to me personally. I grew up in the suburbs south of Denver. I went to Cherry Creek High School, if either of you are familiar, but it's a pretty wealthy school. I mean, most of the kids there, most of the families are pretty comfortable, pretty well off, but things were tighter for my family, a lot tighter than most of the kids who were going to that school. So I really depended on free lunches. I'd get free breakfast as well, but I got really good at keeping up appearances because I didn't want to be the kid in class who clearly had less money than everybody else. So looking at me, you would have never thought that resources like that were so vital. So I learned just from personal experience that making assumptions based on how somebody's presenting is really an ineffective way to determine need.
Yeah. It's an amazing like story and concept. And are there plans to open another FoCo Cafe in like South Fort Collins, or it seems like something that the community is rallying around and more people are finding out about. Like, we just learned about this in the last month or two. Is there opportunities for growth, and what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we currently are focused on getting more financially stable. I mean, COVID was really hard for us. We did get a lot of community support, which was really great, but we used to serve 50, 60 meals a day. When I started working at the cafe, it was about 20, and now we're in the low 30s on average. So we're getting back up there, but truly we just need to get more people in, especially people who have a little more abundance to share from, to get that stability so we can keep feeding the community. And once that happens, I hope to be able to open for breakfast, expand our hours beyond that 3 hour time frame. We've talked about trying to set up a booth at the local farmers market. We've got this kind of pie in the sky idea of opening up a food truck as well. So lots of ideas for how growth could look. But right now I'm just focused on getting the ship steering straight and steady.
I found out about FoCo Cafe 3 or 4 years ago. Guilty to say I have not gone there, so that's kind of a slap on my wrist. I need to, and I'm only a few blocks away, so definitely need to get that into the rotation. But we went there because it was for a group meeting. Having that space, do you guys offer that space for those types of meetings or gatherings or anything like that, for either pay or any anything like that, just because you're only open for that kind of short window but such a great location?
Yeah, just like you mentioned, we are only open for that short window, so the space goes unused a lot of the time. So we rent it out. I can't remember off the top of my head what the rental fee is, and it does change a little bit. If it's local nonprofits, community partners, we'll work with them. If it's businesses, the city, the school, then we've got kind of a flat rate. But we do rent out the space. Anybody interested in that can just email info@fococafe.org. That goes right to me, and then I can forward it to the rest of the team and see what we can make work. We also do cater. That's one place that we're trying to make a little bit more money, something that's a bit more of a fundraising effort for us. But we cater just the same food that's on our regular menu, so we're not going out and buying special ingredients for it. I think typically we try to stick between 15 and 50 people when we're catering, and it's about $20 to $25 a person. But this weekend, I believe we're catering a 100-person event. So depending on the need, depending on how much notice we have, we can definitely scale it.
It's exciting.
Very interesting. And I'm on your site now, Dexter. You guys got a newsletter. You guys got the catering. I mean, you guys got a lot going on to help grow this. if somebody, I guess, where would you send somebody? I mean, obviously, FoCoCafe.org is probably the go-to for additional information.
Yeah, so our website, truthfully, is fairly outdated. It's something I've been working on, especially with the help of interns, to kind of get it more up to date. I typically actually steer people to our Instagram page. We're just FoCo Cafe on Instagram.
Okay.
That's probably where you're going to find the most relevant, most up to date information, especially for any upcoming events or fundraisers we have, or we're doing a donation drive, anything like that.
So I love that, and I mean, wow, you guys got local business, and your partners are. I'm just looking at it right now. You've got, the Fort Collins Connection. You've got UC Health, Panera Bread, Odell Brewing, Horner Painting. All of these local businesses. What is their kind of role in supporting it? Is it just a financial role, or how can some of these other businesses get on this list?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of it is in kind. So, for example, Odell is where we host our Party with a Purpose, our biggest fundraiser of the year every
Okay.
year. And they let us use that space. They're really a great partner. This was my first year planning that event, which we had on December 5th, because we always have it on Colorado Gives Day every year.
Okay.
And yeah, they just say, here's your space, do with it what you will. And they donate drinks, so everybody who got a ticket had 2 free drinks as well. So that's one type of support we get. Or Horner Painting, as you mentioned, Moses Horner is our the chair of our board, but Horner Painting has sponsored a number of events. We've got like Shields in Johnstown has sponsored a number of events as well. So those are monetary donations typically for one specific event.
Okay.
So any businesses that are interested in being one of our partners can definitely reach out again to info@fococafe.org. There's so many different ways to contribute, and we love to partner with as many local entities as possible. For example, we've got Vindicate Foods, another nonprofit here in town. They help us stock our outdoor resources. We've got a free fridge, a kindness cupboard, which is like a dry goods pantry. So they help us stock those up. We also have a giving tree, which is clothing, hygiene products, boots, bags, that sort of thing. And
Wow.
EcoThrift has helped us fill that before. All of those also really rely on community donations. So people just coming by and dropping off whatever they have in abundance. And then anyone who needs to access those resources can do so. They don't even need to talk to us. They can just go right up and grab whatever they need.
Very cool. Very
Do you
cool.
and I don't know if you've given any thought to this or not, and if you haven't, that's totally okay. Do you think the kind of potential move of the homeless shelter and kind of that state-of-the-art facility that's going to be built could help, increase the number of daily lunches that you guys are able to give, or do you think its current location is in a better spot?
Truthfully, I haven't considered it too much, though I don't imagine it will have a huge impact. We get a lot of the community in town, especially those who are experiencing homelessness. I'd say 80-90% of the ones I talk to as I go around town know about FoCo Cafe and go to FoCo Cafe. We are also right by the transit center right there. So it's a place that's pretty accessible comparatively for a lot of folks. So I don't imagine that will change the number of meals too much. But I will say over the last few months, I have seen a big increase in the number of meals, and specifically those meal exchange meals, people volunteering for their meals. Historically, that's made up about 30% of every lunch that we serve. And the last few months, it has hovered around 50-60%. So there's definitely an increased need.
Dexter, you talked about the giving on December 5th, Colorado Gives Day. Thanksgiving is obviously a big one for you. This is coming out in early February. Do you guys have some events coming in February in the coming months that people can get involved with?
Yeah, we do a Valentine's Day dinner.
Okay.
On Valentine's Day. We haven't worked out the details fully just yet, but I imagine that'll be sometime around 5 or 6 in the evening. Information on that will be on our Instagram page.
Okay.
That's our closest kind of fundraising event. We're looking to do more regular fundraising dinners. I mean, we're talking about doing it once, maybe even twice a month, just to get some more community members in who might not be able to come in for lunch, and really show them how good our food is, so that if they can come in for lunch, they realize we're there and they think of us first. But yeah,
Sure. Okay.
that's February. We've got that Valentine's Day dinner, and then we've got a few other events throughout the year. We do a Mother's Day brunch. We do an Easter egg hunt.
Okay.
Yeah, all those
Love
holidays,
it.
we try and do something for them.
I
And I
love it.
just followed you guys on Instagram, and it looks like you guys are pretty darn active on there with like a great following. So would you that would probably be like what you said and recommend as far as staying up to date with FoCo Cafe, getting involved, seeing the stories that you guys are posting? That'd be probably the best avenue of continuing to understand what FoCo Cafe is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best way to kind of keep your finger on the pulse at FoCo Cafe. And then, like y'all mentioned, we do have our newsletter as well. You can sign up for that on our website, and we send those out once a month. They've been a little inconsistent recently, so I'm hoping to help that out. I'm getting a couple of new interns soon, so I think they'll be a good help in terms of making that a little more regular.
I love it.
For we help we volunteered at the mission, and is there anything like that where groups can just come in and volunteer, like get in touch and just say, hey, we would like to come help wash dishes, prep, serve, clean, bus, however all that might look? Is there any opportunity for small groups to do something just to give back?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the key there is small groups, because we are a fairly small physical location, so it can get pretty crowded fairly quickly. But we regularly have groups of 5 to 8 volunteers maybe coming in. We turn off our volunteer signups for every other shift that day, so it's just the group coming in. And they can come in, help out in the kitchen, wash dishes, bus tables, or we have projects like repainting the deck, that kind of thing. And any inquiries for that, I would direct to the email operations@fococafe.org. But yeah, we've got groups coming in all the time.
And question and follow up on that though, that group wouldn't be stealing the lunch from anybody, would they? Because I know you were saying a volunteer in exchange for a lunch is an option, but if there was volunteers throughout that day, those individuals would still be able to get a lunch.
Yeah, definitely. So that's another misconception I like to try and clear up when I'm talking to people about the cafe, because a lot of folks think if I come in, I'm taking lunch from somebody else or somebody who needs it more than I do. But that can be further from the truth. I mean, we don't have any limit on the number of lunches we're serving every day. So folks can come in and get that meal regardless.
Gotcha,
Dexter, as we kind of wrap up, you guys don't serve alcohol, do you?
We don't. No.
Okay. I've been big into NA beer lately. That's my new thing.
Oh, yeah.
Get some NA beer in there. That's what I'm all about. Dexter, anything else that our listeners and viewers should know about FoCo Cafe before we wrap up? It's an amazing story. I mean, you guys have been around for 7 years, 8 years now. And just a last thought for everybody about FoCo Cafe for us.
Yeah, so I'd say the best way to support us, or two of the best ways to support FoCo Cafe. Perfect. One would just be coming in for lunch and bringing your friends. Like I mentioned earlier, once people start coming into the cafe, they tend to keep coming back. And that can really help us grow the number of meals we're serving and kind of the income we get from those donating customers, as well as just building it up as more of a community hub, because connection is at the center of what we do. I mean, one of my favorite things is that people from all different backgrounds, all different socioeconomic statuses, or who hold different intersectional identities are in one place, and they can sit over lunch and talk to each other and get to hear stories that they wouldn't otherwise. So I'd say bringing people in is one of the best ways to support us. And then another really crucial thing for us would be our sustaining memberships or recurring donations. If you go on our website, fococafe.org, there's a donate button up in the top right, and you can follow through, set up a donation so that it repeats monthly. We have a lot of folks at $10. We got plenty of folks at $50, a couple at $100, and I think even one at $200 a month. And that is really, really helpful to the cafe. It's that consistency that allows us to keep moving forward with the confidence that we'll be able to keep feeding the community.
Dexter, what are FoCo Cafe? What are the cafe coins?
Yeah, so we've got these little wooden tokens. If you come in for $15, you can purchase one of these wooden tokens, and then it basically acts as a gift card for a free meal. You can either give it to a friend to get them to come in. I tend to walk around and just give them out to get people into the cafe.
Cool.
Or you can go around, and if you see somebody who's hungry on the corner and is asking for food or money, you can give them one of those tokens, and that's a free meal for them. So that's another reason I like to carry them around. And I think a lot of folks are hesitant to give money to those who are experiencing homelessness, who are asking for it because they don't feel confident that they know what that money is going to be used for. So I would say to those people, come in and get some cafe tokens, and then you know exactly what it's being used for.
Well, congratulations to you and the success and
yeah, and great work getting out there. Honestly, like that's really awesome that you're getting out into the community.
I want to bring my team over. We're gonna come over and have lunch for sure. I think you're right. Just showing up, bringing people an awareness, and just so people know what it's about, and that it's not just like we're homeless people go to get meals. It's where the community comes together to support one another. And I think that's a great thing. And I don't think anybody can argue that.
Exactly. And then one last plug. If you are having a meeting and you need lunch catered, think of FoCo Cafe, because the food you're going to get will be just as delicious or more delicious than what you're going to get from somewhere else. But then that money is also going to help feed the community.
I love it.
Here, here. Last question. We end with everybody, and Fort Collins is the microbrew capital of the world, and there's many patios. And do you got maybe it's your own patio, but do you have a favorite patio when you got to get away from work and relax a little bit and have a cold beverage?
Yeah, so I love many of the patios, many of the breweries here in town. But I have to say, especially after having our party with a purpose there and them graciously hosting us year after year, Odell is definitely one of my go-tos. I really like their Lugene chocolate milk stout that they've had recently.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it sounds a little weird, but it's really good.
Say it again. Dexter, what is it called?
Lugene chocolate milk stout.
That's a great winter beer right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And then speaking of winter beer, if it's cold outside, I'm looking to grab a drink inside. This little, I'd say fairly well kept secret is the Speak Cheesy under Slice Pizza.
I haven't been there yet.
Kind of Speakeasy beer bar down there. Jeremy Tand, who owns Slice Pizza, is actually on our board of directors. So little plug for him right
just
there.
Dropping some beauties here. I never heard of that one.
Yes.
I know Slice Pizza. I didn't know there was a little speakeasy underneath.
Now, question, when you're down there having a drink, is there any opportunity to get pizza?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
There's actually a couple of hidden menu items too down there.
Ooh, I gotta tell you real quick story before we wrap up. So in New York City, there's this hot dog place called Criff Dogs. And it's like you walk in, it's just kind of like, got a board with all this menu. And there's a phone booth in the little restaurant there. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You go in the phone booth, you pick up the phone, and the back door of the phone booth opens up, and it's a speakeasy that goes down to this amazing tiny thing. And they have a little menu that you can order hot dogs from. And the hot dogs just get like dropped down this little thing and then it pop out of the bar.
What's that called?
It's called Criff Dogs. And then the speakeasy is called Please Don't Tell. So it's PDTs is it. I think it's still around to this day. So anyways.
Well, Dexter, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We're going to do our best to spread the word and keep us updated. When you got events and you got things going on, let us know and we'll relay that to our listeners and try to support the best we can.
Yeah, thank you both. I really appreciate this opportunity. It's great chatting.
Absolutely.
Friends of the podcast, thank you so much as always for tuning in. We thank you so much for your support. And just so you know, my amazing co-host Patrick Soukup over there, he is the founder, started Soukup Real Estate. If you ever need any questions about buying or selling or just want a market report on your existing home, reach out to Patrick. His team is absolutely fantastic. born and raised in Fort Collins. His information is right there on the page. Strongly recommend reaching out.
And same for you, Chris. As if you guys are looking at buying or refinancing a home here in Northern Colorado, there's nobody better to reach out to than the Murphy Whitlock Group. And Chris Murphy is going to take incredible care of you. So do not hesitate to reach out, ask questions. He is in no rush, no hurry. So give him a chance. And I think he's going to do a great job for you. Thank you for watching.